I took my ex's $10,000 payoff to disappear until I discovered the baby she was carrying was part of their twisted game. But when I uncovered the real secret buried in those documents, even the judge gasped in court. The envelope felt heavier than it should have when Victoria Harrison slid it across her mahogany desk. I could smell her expensive perfume mixing with the leather scent of the study as I stared at the crisp bills peeking through the opening. "Think of it as a fresh start," she said, her manicured fingers tapping the desktop. Somewhere far from our Mia. I should have laughed in her face. Should have torn up the money right there. But the look in Richard Harrison's eyes stopped me. That cold certainty of a man who always got what he wanted. "Take the offer, son," he said, adjusting his gold cufflinks. "Or we'll make sure the only job you can get is pumping gas in another state." That was 6 months ago. I took the money. Not because I wanted to, but because I'd already lost my job at the auto shop that morning. My landlord had suddenly remembered a lease violation. Even my regular coffee shop started getting health inspections every time I walked in. The Greyhound bus smelled like stale chips and regret as it carried me to Phoenix. I kept touching the envelope in my pocket, feeling the weight of what I'd lost. Mia hadn't even looked surprised when she found me packing. Just disappointed. "You're really leaving?" she'd asked, leaning against my bedroom doorframe. I held up the envelope. "Your parents made sure of it." For months, I tried to forget. Worked construction by day, drank too much by night. Then came Mia's Instagram post, her engagement to Brad Whitmore, her father's protege. The comments gushed about what a perfect match they were. That's when Lily Harrison called. "Ryan," she whispered like someone might be listening. "You need to know something." Mia was pregnant. The due date? Exactly 9 months after our last night together. I nearly dropped my phone. "But the engagement is for show," Lily finished. "Brad's being paid too." That night, I dug out the envelope I'd kept as a bitter reminder. The check inside wasn't from the Harrisons' accounts. It came from Carter Holdings, LLC. My last name. My hand shook as I Googled the company. Incorporated 3 days before they paid me off. Registered to a P.O. box I'd never seen. Last Thursday, a package arrived at my new apartment. No return address, just a key card to the Harrison estate and a note in Lily's messy handwriting. Midnight. The boathouse. Bring the check. Now I'm crouching in the rain outside their gated community, watching the security guard make his rounds. The boathouse lights flicker unexpectedly. Someone's already inside. As I slip through the gate, my phone buzzes with a new message from an unknown number. "They never thought you'd look at the check. Big mistake." The moment I stepped into that boathouse, my life split into before and after. The damp wood creaked under my feet as I flipped open the folder labeled Carter Holdings. What I found inside shattered everything I thought I knew. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. The paternity test results swam before my eyes. My name, Mia's, and an unborn child listed as Harrison/Whitmore. The 99.98% probability of paternity hit me like a punch to the gut. That's when Lily stepped out from behind the old fishing gear, her face pale under the flickering bulb. "They falsified Brad's test results," she whispered. Her hands were shaking as she showed me another document, a trust fund agreement from Mia's grandfather. The baby stood to inherit $12 million on its 21st birthday. Suddenly, the $10,000 made sense. It wasn't just about getting rid of me. It was about protecting that money from ending up in my hands through child support or inheritance claims. The Harrisons had created Carter Holdings to make the payoff look like some legitimate business transaction, something that couldn't be tied directly to them if I ever came asking questions. Lily and I spent that night in a dingy diner off Route 9, nursing bad coffee while she filled in the gaps. Brad Whitmore had been dating a paralegal named Sarah for 3 years. The engagement to Mia was purely for show, arranged by Richard to give the baby a respectable father. I heard Dad promise Brad partnership at the firm if he went along with it. Lily confessed, stirring her coffee long after the sugar had dissolved, and threatened to blacklist him if he didn't. The next morning, I put on the only suit I owned and walked into the Harrisons Country Club like I belonged there. The maitre d' tried to stop me until I flashed the membership card Lily had stolen from her father's desk. I found Brad at the bar, 3 martinis deep at 11 in the morning. He nearly choked when I slid into the seat beside him. "Funny thing," I said, keeping my voice casual. "Sarah Thompson must really love Chicago winters." The way his glass slipped from his fingers told me everything I needed to know. The paralegal girlfriend had suddenly been promoted to their Chicago office last month, right around the time Mia started showing. That evening, I waited outside the prenatal yoga studio, my heart pounding as women filed out. When Mia appeared, her baby bump clearly visible under her fitted tank top, I stepped in her path. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. Ryan? What the? I didn't let her finish. I just held up the paternity test. The moment her eyes found the results, her whole body started shaking. That's when her phone rang, Victoria's name flashing on the screen. Mia answered on speaker before I could stop her. Mom, her voice was eerily calm. Tell me the truth about my baby. Right now. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Then Victoria's voice came through, sharp as broken glass. Who have you been talking to? What happened next unfolded like some surreal soap opera. Mia moved back into the Harrison mansion that night, but not before emptying Brad's office and taking every file with my name on it. Brad resigned from Harrison and Associates the next morning. By that afternoon, half the country club had witnessed Richard Harrison screaming at the golf pro about breaches of privacy. But the real shock came 3 days later, when a process server showed up at my apartment with a lawsuit that named me as the father of Mia's child. The Harrison family might have tried to erase me, but their own daughter just brought me right back into the center of their world. And from the look on that process server's face, this was only the beginning. The lawsuit papers were still warm from the process server's hands when my phone started blowing up. Mia had filed for full custody with child support, naming me as the father in official court documents. The Harrison family's worst nightmare had come true. Their secret was now a matter of public record. For 2 weeks, I walked on eggshells waiting for Richard's counterattack. It came on a Tuesday morning when my landlord handed me an eviction notice. That same afternoon, my new boss at the repair shop pulled me aside. Corporate says we gotta let you go, he muttered, avoiding my eyes. I was sitting in my half-packed apartment, drinking cheap beer, when the doorbell rang. I expected another subpoena. Instead, I found Sarah Thompson, Brad's real girlfriend, standing on my doorstep holding a manila envelope. We need to talk, she said, her eyes darting down the hallway. Inside, she spread hospital records across my kitchen table. Brad gave me these before he disappeared, she said, pointing to Mia's prenatal charts. Look at the dates. The first ultrasound was dated nearly 2 months before Mia and I had slept together. My beer bottle slipped from my fingers. That's not possible, I whispered. Sarah's smile was bitter. The Harrisons didn't just fake paternity results. They altered conception dates, too. The room spun as I realized the truth. The baby wasn't mine. It was Brad's. The entire charade, the payoff, everything had been a cover-up that Mia had been sleeping with her father's protege long before our breakup. The next morning, I marched in my lawyer's office with Sarah's documents. By afternoon, we filed a motion to dismiss the paternity claim. That's when the text started coming. Unknown, you're making a mistake. Unknown, we can settle this quietly. Unknown, last chance to walk away. I ignored them all. The hearing was set for Friday at 9 a.m. I arrived early, my stomach in knots. Mia and her parents were already there, their lawyer whispering urgently. But where was Brad? As the judge called the session to order, the courtroom doors burst open. Brad stumbled in, his face bruised, his arm in a sling. I need to testify, he croaked. Brad confessed everything. The affair with Mia, Richard's threats, the falsified medical records. But the real bombshell came when he revealed why he'd disappeared. Richard had me followed, Brad said, his voice shaking. When I tried to contact Sarah, his men convinced me to reconsider. He lifted his sling meaningfully. The judge's gavel came down hard. Case dismissed. Mia would face charges for falsifying documents. Richard would be investigated for witness intimidation. As I walked out of that courtroom, I expected to feel triumphant. Instead, I just felt empty. All this drama, all these lies, and the baby at the center of it wasn't even mine. That's when Lily found me in the parking lot. There's one more thing you should know, she said, handing me an envelope. Inside was a letter from Mia, written the night before the hearing. I knew the baby was Brad's all along, but I needed you to be the father because you're the only one who would have fought my parents, and they needed to be stopped. Tucked behind the letter was a check for $50,000 from the Harrison Family Trust. The memo line simply read, "For your silence." I looked up at Lily, stunned. She just winked. "Cash it quickly. The account gets frozen tomorrow." As I drove away from the courthouse, I realized the twisted genius of Mia's plan. She'd used me to expose her parents' corruption, knowing I was the only one stubborn enough to see it through. The baby would be taken care of. Brad was out of the picture. And I had enough money to finally open that auto shop. The last text came as I was packing my final boxes. Unknown, we'll be watching. I deleted it and blocked the number. Some games aren't worth playing twice. Be sincere, guys. If you were in my shoes, would you have taken the money or exposed everything? Comment below.